Welcome to the 49 Yard Dash Podcast, the podcast on your San Francisco 49ers, hosted by myself, Stephen Ellis, and of course, joined by my good friend, Josh LaFont. Well, Josh, it is official. The 49ers have been eliminated from Super Bowl contention in the playoffs. But, other than that, just in general, how you doing, my man?
Dude, I'm just approaching this podcast with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
All right.
Our podcast has a total of 477 total views and 11 strong, faithful subscribers, known friends, and trusted agents. Jim Harbaugh has signed an extension at Michigan after spurning that team up north. Skull, baby. And now, finally, the Trey Lance era is here. What we've been talking about for it feels like 4,512 years. We are here.
Absolutely.
We have arrived. Despite losing the game, I'm ready to do this, man.
Yeah, I'm ready. I feel okay. I really do. I feel all right, which is shocking.
I feel like I've been dumped, diagnosed with cancer, but I also won the lottery. So it's like, hey, it kind of sucks, but I'm gonna be all right.
Yeah, I feel
gonna be all right.
Yeah, I feel like I was walking in the middle of a busy road, and somebody was texting and driving and hit me, but I'm all right. That's it.
You're kind of like that frog. You know that frog, the video game with the frog? You know what they call it? Yeah, that's it.
Nice.
Kind of like Frogger, man.
Okay.
Weaving and ducking and weaving in between all this danger. And here we are. We got to the other side. We're nicked, we're bruised, we're missing a leg. We got it. We're just a little tadpole in an intersection.
That's it. And now
and we made it, man.
We're just winging it with a positive attitude, man.
We are, man. The box wine is chilling in the fridge. The hot peanuts are in the bowl. We're going to be all right.
We're okay. We would be remiss if we didn't first get into that game. Are you laughing because I said we would be remiss?
That's exactly why I'm laughing.
I said that for you. I was hoping you'd enjoy that.
That was great, man. That was good. That was a big word. I can't even spell it.
That makes two of us.
I would be remiss if I couldn't spell the word.
That's right. I had a few basic game notes for this. Just some things that stood out to me, I would say, is I didn't think either quarterback played well. I thought that both defenses had really good moments, also had some bad moments. I think the stars really stood out in this game.
Yeah.
On both sides. Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. The stars really stood out in this one to me.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. I've got a few bullet points that we'll hit here along the way reviewing this game, but just starting off with, it's a shame the season had to end.
Yeah.
You and I talked about it right before we started the podcast, but we never thought we'd win the Super Bowl this year. Heck, we never thought after the Titans game we were going to make the playoffs. It was it was a rough scenario there, especially when the Saints were beating the Falcons there in Week 18. It's like, man, but here we are, made it to the NFC Championship, beat one of the best teams in football all year, and the Cowboys, man, went on the road. The offense played like crap in a crappy weather and knocked off the king and Aaron Rodgers for the umpteenth time. So it was a great year, man. It's a shame that our son had to, it's playing basketball with your kid in the driveway, and you just keep dunking on him. And one day he's just pissed off enough. He's just muscular enough. He's got just good enough of a layup package, just good enough of a jump shot. He finally beats his dad. And Kyle Shanahan was the dad on that day.
Yeah.
And his son, Sean McVay, finally did beat him. But again, it's just a shame it had to end like this. Like you said, the stars really shined.
Yeah.
One thing I'll mention, but just to keep from rambling too much, because I do want to get your thoughts on it, obviously. But my biggest thing, the run game just never got going.
Oh, absolutely.
20 yards on 11 carries for Mitchell, 50 yards total for the team. Despite the offensive line, granted, they didn't give up a sack the whole game. Arguably, it was their best pass protection performance of the game. But Aaron Donald is just a menace in the run game. and they couldn't do anything to stop him. He was a force to be reckoned with. That wasn't even, I wouldn't even categorize it being a problem with the offensive line or the play calling. That was just Aaron Donald being Aaron Donald. He single-handedly shut down the run game, holding the team to 50 yards total rushing. That's an outstanding performance by Donald, and yet another instance where you said the stars really shine.
Yeah.
That's it right there.
Absolutely. You know, I thought that too. And this is one of the few times because, you know, of course we know the 6 straight wins by Shanahan against McVay. A large part of that was they dominated running the ball, and McVay couldn't figure out how to stop it. Well, it seems like, I'm not going to say he's figured out Shanahan completely, but I think it was mainly what you said. It was the stars of that defensive line for the Rams playing their butts off and being able to slow that thing down. They played really, really well. And I don't think this means that Shanahan no longer has an edge on McVay even.
Yeah.
I think they just got the best of him one day. It was clear the defense was going to try to make Garoppolo beat them. And I didn't want to make this portion this early about the
well, then one thing we'll say before we – then one thing we'll add before we move on to Jimmy, because that's going to derail the rest of it. Alex Mack's a Pro Bowler this year, and I've crapped on him the whole season. Tom Compton played a great game, but you did see the talent difference. So despite Tom Compton stepping up, Brunskill stepping up, and obviously Lincoln Tomlinson's just a stud at left guard, and then you got Trent Williams at left side.
He was playing on one leg, though. Trent.
He was playing on one leg, but they still played fine. But you did see the age kind of showing for Alex. He's just the IQ of Albert Einstein in the football field. But when you're going up against Aaron Donald on the interior, man, when he is lined up in that position, it's just too rough. And then if you're Tom Compton or Daniel Brunskill on the right side, you're going up against Aaron Donald, you just can't handle that, man. And that's kind of where you saw that talent. So we're excited to talk about it in the offseason, but no doubt that side of the line, at least guard, center, it's going to be a position of need to be addressed going forward. Just because despite the IQ that Alex Mack has, the age is catching up to him, even in a Pro Bowl year. And then just the talent gap in these big games that you see with Compton at right tackle. With McGlinchey being out. You already know how I feel about McGlinchey. And then with Brunskill, you do need some kind of upgrade there on the right side of the line. You feel really good about Trent Williams, obviously, one of the best players in football. You feel awesome about Lincoln Tomlinson. But that center position, if you can upgrade, great, but definitely the right side of the line. You saw it in this game too. It needs to get addressed. And one thing as well, real quick, Shanahan does like to run right a ton. I don't know why.
Yeah, what's up with that?
It was some stat I read recently, like 67 or 68% of his run plays he calls are to the right side of the line. And if that's what you're going at with Alex Mack snapping and pulling, Compton kicking out from the tackle, and Brunskill maybe pulling, maybe kicking out, and you're going up against guys like Von Miller and even in his age and Aaron Donald, it's a tough matchup, man. So that's definitely going to be a position to look to upgrade if you can this offseason. I think that's kind of why you saw the run game limited, was just that talent mismatch.
Yeah, no, definitely so. Imagine if the 49ers would have taken Creed Humphrey, man, instead of Aaron Banks. Just, you know, it's easy to say that, but I just thought about that today, actually.
I'm not gonna even
it's
consider
a long discussion.
We can spend, and we will spend multiple hours here with our draft coverage, and there's going to be a lot of ranting, a lot of raving about several interior prospects of the 49ers need to get this year, and the fact that they've wasted them on Mike McGlinchey and Aaron Banks. So anyway, Jimmy, talk to me. Talk to me about Jimmy. Talk to me about James Garoppolo.
You know, I don't really
the Italian stallion.
The Italian stallion. I like that. It's too bad that you came up with that.
I think he's Greek, actually. It seems like a Greek name. I don't know.
I don't know.
He's either got a Dago mustache or he's making spaghetti and, gabagool in his grandma's basement. It's one of the two.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, it's a shame we did come up with these names this late.
Yeah, that was excellent. No, I was curious how your energy would be with Jimmy Garoppolo in this podcast because I know Jimmy Garoppolo is your favorite quarterback, and it's pretty obvious. And it's funny that Lynch and Shanahan in their press conference were almost kind of like, we can see through them that it's time, but they were still kind of saying the right things, like, well, we're going to evaluate everything. But then Jimmy was like, yeah, I hope to go to a team that wants to win. I love you guys. We'll see you. I'll miss you.
They're helping me find a trade partner.
Yeah. It's just funny that they were almost kind of like halfway concealing it. And Jimmy's like, love you guys. We'll see what happens next.
No, I know it, man.
Ultimately, this game, though, like I was mentioning, the Rams were clearly committed to shutting down the run game and trying to make Jimmy Garoppolo beat him. And I don't want to rail on the guy. He's going to move on. I hope the best for him. But moments like that are why they traded 3 first-rounders and tried to get a superstar quarterback. They've been able to win games with him. The record shows it, but it's clear as day that when he has to carry the offense, it's inconsistent at best. But that's just the reality. But I want to take a portion at the end of this episode to pay my respects to Jimothy Garoppolo. So I don't want to rail on this podcast. Just me.
You can, though. You do that, man. You do that, man, because I will. After the pick, right before the pick, actually, when he nearly threw an interception running right, I texted to you and our good friend who never joins us on the podcast, Luke, pretty people never run well.
I remember
it's a great saying in life. It's a great saying in life. Then I said something I'm not going to repeat. Jimmy Garoppolo, that is all. The epitome of that man's career. Wasted a championship team. Good riddance. There were some words I left out too, but with Jimmy, there was no game ever. No game has ever epitomized a player more so than that. You see it time and time again. Like Matt Ryan in the Super Bowl with the Patriots. You can blame that on Shanahan, but they were hot early, and then he folded when it was time to close it. You've seen it with Aaron Rodgers some in big games. He can kind of choke a little bit. But it's not the epitome of their career. It's maybe the confirmation of a stereotype or a bias. It's confirmation bias when you see them choke like that. But this was truly, same with Stafford too. People rail on him when he didn't beat the Niners in week 18. Like, oh, this is who Stafford is, chokes in big games.
Yeah.
This was truly not a confirmation bias stereotype like I just gave examples of. Ryan, Rodgers, Stafford. People railed on them. They're wrong. This is Jimmy. What you saw Sunday was Jimmy. The fact that the game ended on a play in which there was no need to try to get out of the sack. Now, granted, it would have made it 4th and forever, but there was no need to try to get out of that. Putting the ball in harm's way is what ended the game. Now, there was probably no way they were going to drive the field. There's probably no way they're converting 4th down, but at least it's another play. The fact that the game ends with not the first sack of the game, because granted the offensive line gave up no sacks. It ends in a whirlwind, windmill, horse-like shot in which he flings it in midair to try to get rid of it. And 2 plays before that, pretty people don't run well. He scrambles right and nearly ends the game that way, throwing it right to Jalen Ramsey, right in the face.
Jalen Ramsey dropped it.
He did. He pulled a Jaquiski Tart. He pulled a Tart. He was a Pop-Tart on that play.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue is that series, that final play, those final 2 plays of pretty people not running well and trying to pull out a shot to win a game of driveway horse, that's Jimmy. The quarterback differential that you saw Sunday, that's what it really is. That's why the Lions gave up Stafford.
Yeah.
Or that's why the Rams paid the Lions rather.
Yeah.
3 first-round picks
mm-hmm.
for that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Because that guy wins you the game. That's why Jimmy, although might get some compensation, will never fetch that because that is not him.
Oh, no.
He's not Matthew Stafford. He's not Aaron Rodgers. And those of our 49er faithful fans who tried to say that the Niners were in the wrong for trading up for Trey Lance, that this is Jimmy's team, that Jimmy's a Super Bowl quarterback. Shut up. We're done with you. We're done with you. You should have kept your mouth shut. You're done talking. We're done with you. That game came down to the better quarterback needing to win. And Jimmy just needed to get close because, frankly, Kyle called the better plays, and he just couldn't do it.
You know, one thing I've always thought was so weird about the ones who said, why are they trading up to pick Trey Lance? Why do they think they need a quarterback upgrade?
We have Jimmy.
Yeah. I guess mainly what I was getting at is I would run into people on social media.
Yeah, no, I know.
Would sometimes call me crazy for acknowledging that they needed an upgraded quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted to be a legitimate Super Bowl team. And I'm like, dude, the 49ers are the guys that did this. Why? Some people think that it's just a fan base pushing for Jimmy to be out. It's the 49ers.
Yeah. No, man. I remember going through this when Cap, who I will say, and Steven remembers this, we were standing around. I was a fat 13-year-old, and he was a 4 foot nothing, 50-pound soaking wet little bean burrito. And I told him, I said, dude, this Colin Kaepernick guy, now granted, a second-round pick. Of course he was going to start. I said, dude, I like this guy a lot, man. He's going to be good. So that's been my boy. That was always my boy. Yeah. But even when he started faltering, I used to get in arguments with people all the time. That's why I bring him up. Like, man, we need a quarterback change. We need a quarterback change. And just getting blasted by the 49er faithful. Just because of not having faith, not trusting the process, not trusting.
But Trey Lance is the process, is why
he is the process. Kaepernick was the process. Garoppolo was the process. Trey Lance is the process.
Yeah,
you just gave up all this stuff to go and get him, right? But it is kind of funny, and that's the one thing. And this isn't going to earn me any likes with our fan base, but we don't have any. 477 views, so I'll rail on you who are listening. The worst part about the fan base is there's a small minority, which I'd like to think me and Steven are included in. We're football nuts. We might not have a huge podcast like a lot of these guys, but we know what we're talking about. We study the draft intently. We watch film. We understand what football terminology is, what A gaps are, B gaps, C gaps are. We understand what the techniques of a defensive tackle are. We understand these things. So it's frustrating when you get crucified for, like you said, saying the 49ers need to upgrade the quarterback position, which we just saw why they needed to in this game.
Yeah.
And why it sucks when I get crucified years ago for doing the same thing when Colin Kaepernick, before he was kneeling during the anthem, he was benched for poor play, which people seem to forget.
Yeah.
That's why he was benched.
Yeah.
Because he sucked. It's a shame that fans don't, that's my one complaint with the 49ers fan base. Mm-hmm. Not everything's about blind loyalty and ownership or in Shanahan or anything. Ray Charles could have seen that Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't going to win this game. So when you read online that Jimmy's not the guy, maybe get over his gorgeous face and his perfect teeth and just realize the fact that you need a winner, that not all the stars are going to align like they did in 19. Not everything's going to match up just perfect to win with this guy. That in football, you need a star quarterback to go out and win the game. Yeah. And Colin wasn't that guy. Alex Smith wasn't that guy. And Jimmy's not that guy. Yeah. And that's why they've mortgaged the house and the farm on Trey Lance.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely the truth. That's the reality. And I don't get why some are so intent on even longtime fans, actual loyal fans, sometimes get intent on being a player fan even more than the team fan. People that are so Hey, I'll admit there are guys that are too far on the Trey Lance side too, to a point of delusion. But
There were guys that I saw online thinking, I don't want to cut you off, keep your
it's
thought,
cool.
but just the Trey Lance thing. I saw him saying that they needed to start Trey Lance in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. You can't make a quarterback switch in the NFC Championship. You can't do that.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much exactly what I was going to say. You just can't. That's why Shanahan said, "Yeah, Trey Lance looked great against Houston, but you don't make a quarterback change in Week 18. You just can't do that." No. And even the idea of throwing a rookie, even if he's better today, you know that Jimmy has been in those spots, even if he hasn't played at the top of his game. Sometimes he's been there. You know what you're going to get to an extent.
Sure.
Me and you are the biggest Trey fans around, pretty much, other than the crazy ones that we just mentioned. And throwing a rookie in that spot when he hasn't played much is just not a smart thing to do. If you would have started Week 1,
that's what I'd say.
But you can't make a change in Week 18, barring injury. You just can't do that.
No, and the stars didn't align, and we don't wish Jimmy to get an injury, although he had 45,000 of them this year.
Yes.
But the stars didn't align for a Kaepernick Smith-like transition.
No.
It didn't work that way. And keep in mind, that was Kaepernick's second year when he took over in that game when Alex Smith goes out with a concussion after getting plastered on the sideline. God, looked like he was in Baghdad. This car with a roadside bomb. But no, you really did see it. And I don't want to take away from your rant, but it's just you need an elite quarterback to win the NFL, man.
Especially in today's game.
Look at how many years the Bengals had top 5 defense in football. They had Chad Ochocinco.
Yeah.
They had AJ Green.
Yes.
They had Tyler Eifert. They had elite weapons, man. And Carson Palmer wasn't the guy to beat Big Ben, to beat Brady. Andy Dalton wasn't the guy to beat Big Ben, to beat Brady. But now they got Joe Burrow. They have a less talented team. And they just went into the freaking Chiefs' house and smacked them around. They beat Kansas City in their house with freaking Gutsy Joe, Jamar Chase, and the best kicker since Adam Vinatieri.
Dude, that guy's awesome. Well, I'll say.
But it just goes to prove.
Tucker, but still, that's not important.
Yeah, sure. But but it did not take away from the point. You need an elite quarterback, man.
Absolutely.
You have to have an elite quarterback. Look at the Titans. How long have we talked about them?
Yeah.
How long have we talked about them needing a quarterback?
But ultimately,
A-Rod,
what
Russell
happened?
Wilson.
Tannehill.
They lost. Tannehill. It comes back to bite you in the worst spots. The stars don't align every year. You can't stress that enough. The 19 Super Bowl run was magical because everybody was healthy, and the 49ers had the best player on the field, sans cornerback and quarterback. Arguably, they were just overwhelming you, and they nearly won it that way. But what happened? They didn't get into perfect alignment, and it didn't work out. When you needed a quarterback to make a play, it didn't work out. See with the Titans, when they went into New England, into Foxborough, and beat the Patriots. I guess that was in 19 as well, actually. Make it to the AFC Championship game. Tannehill couldn't get the job done. The stars don't. The stars might align to get you there, but eventually you need players to make plays.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's today's league. And it's always been that way, but even more so in today's league. There's no doubt about it.
Well, just the prevalence of how pass heavy these offenses are. It's, back in the day, you can sell out the run. Barry Sanders is going to run all over you. Not that way anymore. You sell out the run, make your quarterback beat you. If he's not good enough, Tanny ain't beating you. Jimmy ain't beating you.
We just saw a perfect example of it. The 49ers have been the most creative and successful team rushing the ball in the league. But when a team puts all their resources in stopping that, your quarterback has to go out and win the game. And he didn't win the game. I mean, we just saw the example. Even in a run-heavy scheme like Shanahan's, the quarterback in the big games still has to make plays. That is today's NFL.
So two quick things before we hit game balls.
Sure.
One, I do want to mention the defense here. But just real quick, talking about quarterback, just to kind of hammer that point home. Whether or not Trey Lance works out, who knows and who cares? Because if you don't work out, Shanahan and Lynch ain't gonna be here to see it through.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the next guy's problem. Now, if you want to get into the pissing match of if they should have spent those picks on Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson wasn't going to come here, but let's just say Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers, or maybe they should have been more. Yeah. Stafford. They should have went more aggressive to Tom Brady. Let's just say one of those names. Maybe that's what they should put resources in. That's up for debate.
Mm-hmm.
Me and you both love Trey Lance.
Yeah.
We think he's got the potential to be the best quarterback in this draft. But putting the resources they put into him, there is the debate to be had of, whether they should have put it on him or somebody else or whatever, an established veteran. But the point remains, you had to do it.
Yeah.
This isn't something you can wait on. Again, I hate to use the expression, the stars align, but look where Cincinnati went from 2 wins to 4 wins to the Super Bowl because of one guy.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had been healthy last year, they would have won a heck of a lot more than 4 games.
Yeah.
In his rookie year. It doesn't always work out where the bottom falls out. You get a top 2 pick without giving up any capital, and then you get your guy. You've got to go out and get him. So applaud Shanahan and Lynch for identifying this last year. And arguably they identified it after the Super Bowl loss of we need a better quarterback. And they probably put the wheels in motion then to make a decision. Then COVID happened and everything. But at least they were aggressive enough to identify the issue, take steps to rectify it, and hopefully in the future, Trey Lance develops the way everybody expects him to, and they come out on top. They come out on top in a game like this.
I respect the heck out of that move because any organization could say, "Hey, we were able to get to a Super Bowl with this guy."
Yeah,
but they were able to say, "Yeah, we did," but look at the roster around him and just imagine a superstar at that position with this roster and core of players instead. If Trey Lance pans out the way we hope, this team is excellent.
Think about too, real quick. I know we need to get the defensive game balls, but think about the aggression of that move. Trading up was not their first option. I don't care what any report says. I guarantee you their first call was to Green Bay.
Yeah.
And then it was to Houston. And then it was to Detroit. And then they said, that's a lot of capital to give up for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
We don't know how Deshaun's going to work out. And it seems like LaFleur wants that bridge burned with Shanny because he don't want to stake in his guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah.
Why don't, instead of putting all this money into a 36-year-old veteran, we find a guy? And we already like Trey Lance. How much resolve they had to stick with the plan is really telling, because you've seen it how many times. Think back about all the other sports, at the time Detroit tried to trade for Kobe Bryant. Kobe nixed the trade. They gave up on it. They didn't go after another star. They didn't go after Melo. They didn't go after LeBron. Yeah. They didn't go after D-Wade. They just gave up on it. Okay, we didn't get our guy. We're done. Think about all the teams that have tried to get Aaron Rodgers over the years or poach Tom Brady or whatever. Well, we didn't get our guy. We didn't get our guy. All right, we'll move on. Back to relevancy. The fact that they at least stuck with it, knew it was a problem, and just they weren't okay with mediocrity tells you their resolve to winning. And whether or not this thing works, who knows? But at least
they tried. Yeah, got to hand it to them. They're trying.
But thank God it wasn't Mac Jones.
Whew, yeah, do that, man. I'm not. Jesus. Don't even get me started.
No, but at least they got somebody with potential.
Yeah, definitely so. Would you want to mention about the defense too?
So just the fact of how good they played. I mean, Stafford goes for almost 340 yards, 2 picks. I mean, not 2 picks, sorry, 2 touchdowns.
Should have been 2 picks.
Should have been 2 picks. But Stafford had he had a great game. Even let's say Tartt catches that pick, Stafford still had a good game. But the defense played really well. And I think, and I hate to talk about my boy every week, but
no, you don't.
Well, one of them was going to be a game ball. I'm going to leave the other guy out. But this one's not. Ambry really proved, I think, the last several games of the year, going back to the Bengals game, he's your number 1 cornerback going into next season, even over Mosley. the way he's played down this playoff run, how quickly he's matured, just flipping that switch on, turning on a dime. Just he had a great game, and they were giving everything up underneath.
Yeah.
But the dude had 13 tackles, and only 3 of them were assisted. So 10 of them were solo tackles, meaning when they gave up the underplay and zone, he wrapped his guy up. The way he's helped out and run support, the way he played that game, it kind of alleviates that tension that we talked about almost every week with Josh Norman and Kirkpatrick of finally, whether Mosley's his partner in crime going into next year or not, you've got a legit number 1 cornerback who's big enough, who's strong enough, and who's fast enough to run with these star wide receivers. And you saw at the Bengals game, Jamar Chase, he gets thrown in the fire. Then you're going up against CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. And then you're going up against Devontae Adams and Valdez Scantling. And then you're going up against Odell Beckham and Cooper Kupp. And he's played really well in that run. Really makes you feel a lot better about it going into next year.
2 things I thought their game plan seemed to be: give space, be okay with giving up the short stuff and just make the tackle.
Yep.
Just don't get beat over the top. Seemed to be their defensive game to me. Bend, don't break, of course. And 2, the emergence of Ambry, I think, has changed my thoughts on the need to draft a cornerback with their first draft pick.
100%.
Yeah, because all season, me and you both, before Ambry emerged, even you were saying, yeah, that second round pick, it needs to be a corner. Now, they got a lot more options, I think, if you're not desperate where you have to take one there. I don't think. Yeah.
No, and Mosley and Ambry is a better combo than anything we've seen since going back to the Harbaugh era.
Yeah.
In the defensive backfield at 1 and 2. And then if I will say one thing quick, I know I'm supposed to be talking about game review, but K1 has kind of struggled a little bit down the stretch going up against some of these elite guys. Yeah. So that might be the one position you look at, maybe upgrading in the draft, or if Lenoir can step up here in the offseason, maybe he takes a leap. That might be the one part now, which ironically enough, slot corner going into the year, we thought was the strongest position in the secondary. And right now it looks like the weakest. But beside the point, Ambry stepping up, man, it just alleviates so much stress because you take 2 corners, you hope one of them hits. Ambry doesn't hit, Lenoir does. All of a sudden, neither of them hit. And then, hey, Ambry, crap, the season's on the line. Can you step in? Sure thing, coach. And he really quit himself. For me personally, obviously being a fan of him for almost 6 years now. Yeah, literally 6 years, going back to his junior year in high school, following his recruitment. It's nice to see from a personal standpoint. Just being a 49ers fan, I love defensive backs, and that's been our biggest weakness going back to the Super Bowl run. Even with Richard Sherman in the career year, it was still a weakness. So having a young guy who can get out and run, and Mosley's only knock being a smaller guy, Ambry's nearly 6 foot with great length and athleticism. That's the guy you want going up against these elite receivers here in years to come. So it's nice just to have that there. And like you said, not have to stress about spending a ton and overpaying in free agency, not having to invest even more draft capital into finding one. You've got one now.
No, it really does solve stuff. It changes the draft mindset totally, in my opinion. It's not a desperate thing anymore. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the game balls. You want to do like 3 each or something?
I've got
or 2
each? I guess I've got 3. I've got 3. They're not necessarily. I've got 2 defense, 1 offense, but
okay. Well,
you want to go back and forth? How do you want to do it? All right, cool. Yeah, I'll just do my first one. We'll go back and forth. This is a guy I have not given a game ball to, and I don't know how. I don't know if it's just because of my hatred for the school he played for or what. But Nick Bosa, man.
Okay.
1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for losses, 6 total tackles. Of course, those 6 total, it is what it is, but 2 being tackles for losses. Yeah, a great game. And excellent. That was the best game that the Rams offensive line, I think, has played against the Niners since I can remember. And he still had a good game. His impact was felt, I'll say that much. And you don't know how healthy he was. No doubt it wasn't 100%. It might have been barely over 50. But those stats don't jump off the screen at you. but his impact was
1.5 and 2
undeniable.
tackles for loss. Pretty awesome. But yeah.
It is, man. But just yeah, it doesn't jump off at you like TJ Watt numbers might. But it was a great game, man. And for him to have that impact against the Rams' best showing against us in years, and in a game when you had to have it, and when he probably wasn't even close to 100% healthy, Nick Bosa, baby.
Heck yeah, that's nice. Yeah, he was on my list of possible candidates here. So, and side note, he's played 6 playoff games. He's got 8 sacks. He's another level in the playoffs. He's a playoff performer.
He's a winner. He's a winner.
Beast. And I still think he should finish second in Defensive Player of the Year voting, but he won't because they hate him. All right, I will go pick on the defensive side of the ball. A guy that I don't think has gotten enough game balls throughout the season from us, Fred Warner, man.
Nice, man.
Another absolute superstar. But
I love it.
Second half of the season in playoffs, that dude has been all over the place. And he's proven that this is no down year like some people implied, like PFF grades. We hate them. So, screw that. Fred Warner, baby.
No, and that's mine too. I'm not even going to go to my other candidates. He deserves it up, man. These were my only notes on Fred Warner. Fred Warner is a menace to society.
Yes.
And I think that speaks for itself. You and I talked about it back when we were working together before I moved, but we're talking about, of course, while we're working, all these maybe trade possibilities and things, and with the Niners trading maybe trading up to pick whoever, and are they still interested in A-Rod? What's compensation going to be? And what was the one player that we always mentioned you couldn't give up and you couldn't live without? Of course, Kittle and Bosa are important, but Fred Warner is a captain of that defense, and you feel it. There's been times Bosa's been out, and with Samson Ebukam, God, I'm glad I didn't butcher that name.
Yeah.
And others. And Eric Armstead, they can kind of mitigate it. Charlie Warner can kind of mitigate it, but nobody makes up for the lack of Fred Warner being in the game. That is a guy that could never have been traded, that could never have been let go into free agency or franchise tag. He is arguably, maybe not the most talented, but arguably the most important player, possibly even on the team, just because of his impact, just because of how he lines everybody up, how he's always in the right gap, how he always is in the right place playing the ball, how he always picks up the right guy. He's always moving everybody around, getting them in position. And again, probably the 49ers, even up there with Kittle, the best late round selection possibly of all time, to be the captain of the defense, man. He had an awesome year.
He's an absolute superstar. And I was listening or reading something by the guy that I like who does a lot of NFL and draft stuff. His name is Benjamin Solak. Some people might have heard of it before. But he picked the 49ers to win this game, and he said a large part why was because of Fred Warner, because the Sean McVay offense is largely based on trying to confuse linebackers. Misdirections, motions, whatever. Really trying to confuse those linebackers, and it just never works on Fred Warner. Never works.
It doesn't, man.
You can't confuse that guy. He's excellent in coverage. He's an absolute superstar.
No, and we talked about it too. I specifically remember it was either in our first or second episode when we were previewing the season, we talked about things we expected to see. And one of my questions was, how many times do star players that get a huge extension dip after their extension year? Hey, we're playing up to get that big contract, like Fred did. We're playing up to get that money.
Yeah.
You got to get the bag. You got to secure the bag, as the cool kids would say. Well, Fred secured it, and the dude just, and the words of the great and powerful Michael Jordan, the ceiling is the roof. He exploded right through it, man.
Heck yeah.
And it's remarkable too, as mentioned, even these guys where their skill level doesn't drop off, oftentimes, whether it's a mental thing, whether it's maybe guys coming for them harder because they know they got that money, they've read the headlines, they want to double team TJ Watt now, they want to chip Nick Bosa, they want to, pancake George Kittle. They're coming for you because they know you're a star and they know you got paid. And the fact that Fred Warner still had a dominant year, man, I'm glad we've ranted about him this much because we haven't talked about him enough this year.
I agree.
He's up there in contention for the most important player on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. He's no doubt in the conversation. My second one goes to Jimmy Ward for picking off Stafford for the third time this season. That's it. That's the only reason. And I just love Jimmy Ward.
I'll keep this one short and sweet. Debo, I mentioned Fred being the most important player on defense. Maybe not most talented, but most important. Kittle might be the most, or not even might be. Kittle is the most talented player on offense. Debo might be the most important. However, Brandon Ayuk is the best pure wide receiver in my mind. In the game that he had, the way Jimmy played, going for nearly 70 yards on 4 receptions, that's the guy you need. Because Debo's not, and this is so going to be so controversial, Debo's not a pure wide receiver.
No, he's not.
He's the jackknife. And if you put him at the Z or X or Y or whatever, he's not going to have the impact. He needs to be moved around like this to get his full skills into use. They need to be utilized in that way. He's not great, releasing off the line. He's not great with all his moves and things at the line of scrimmage. He's best used in motion as a Swiss Army guy. And a guy like Ayuk, a pure wide receiver who can complement him in that way, perfect. It makes you happy for the future.
Dude, their core of weapons is awesome. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better 3 than Debo, Kittle, and Ayuk. I'm happy with that, no doubt.
One last thing on Debo. Even though the game ball goes to Ayuk for his play this season, and then also which that's a good idea. We'll do that live on the podcast. We should do an episode featuring season
awards or game
season
ball.
awards.
Yeah.
Season awards, like basically. Like season balls. Season balls.
Yeah, perfect.
There you go. But just like I said, the ball goes to Ayuk, but Debo being there and being used in that way not only does it take pressure off Ayuk, it puts Ayuk in a role as the primary wide receiver that we saw him shine in last year when Debo was hurt, banged up a little bit. That's when Ayuk was best, was when he was the primary and he was getting the most looks. And Debo is now at his best, kind of makes up for Mostert potentially moving on after this year, makes up for his potential absence of now you have a home run hitter that Mostert would have been, complimenting Elijah Mitchell in the backfield, and also a guy who can move around all over the place. So just a win-win-win, in the words of Michael Scott, everybody wins situation for Ayuk, Debo, Juwan Jennings, Kittle. Win-win-win-win-win.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And one last point on that is Ayuk again is going to go, just him and Trey, I think, are going to go work out again pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
So,
that's awesome.
Ayuk, I think, is Trey's guy. He's got the most chemistry with Trey. All right, my last one. And this is going to be controversial here, buddy.
All right. Let's hear it.
Jaquiski Tartt. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that he lost the game.
If you know what I'm thinking, then don't repeat it live on YouTube. Otherwise, we'll get demonetized.
Hear me out. I'm not giving this to him for his performance because he doesn't deserve it.
It's called a game ball.
But I just want to throw out that this guy made a horrible play. And, well, he failed to make a great play, which was horrible. Arguably lost the game. But I was so impressed with how he stepped in front of the media and owned up to it, the way he talked about it, what he said on social media about it, and his attitude, just owning it entirely, that this was an opportunity of a lifetime. He missed it and how he wants to get better for it. And you don't approve, and I shouldn't give a game ball to somebody just because he has a good attitude. But, I'm in that kind of mood today for some reason. So there you go.
Well, you're a liberal snowflake, so nothing surprises. Maybe if you're a strong libertarian like myself who voted for Joe Jorgensen, you'd get somewhere in life. But hey, you just do you, saving the world one stray puppy at a time. Tartt's a piece of crap, and he can go walk. That's all I need to say about that. Safety is a major point of contention, and that's going to be a need going into offseason. So the fact that you
Hufanga's
gave your
ready,
game ball,
so
yeah, well, he's a hybrid, but we'll get into that this offseason. But yeah, the fact that you gave your last game ball of the season to a guy that's not going to be on the team next year, probably, man, that says something.
Yeah.
Says something, man. Yeah, stood in front of the media. Well, so did Jimmy.
Yeah.
And you know what? I will say this: game ball to Jimmy, fourth ball, extra ball, little extra ball for you. Jimmy didn't fake an injury this time for once when he lost the game. When he threw that interception, he didn't blame it on a sprained ankle. He didn't blame it on turf toe. He didn't blame it on his lack of Midol since it was his time of the month. He didn't blame it on a bad haircut. He didn't blame it on a carpal tunnel from replying to Twitter warriors on a fake moniker for 8 hours a day. He actually stood in front of the media. So game ball to Jimmy for being a good guy and standing in front of the media. Jeez, Jaquiski Tart, game ball for owning your mistake. What load of crap is that? Jeez.
No, I appreciate the way he talked about it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, you'll appreciate even more when he walks and goes to Jacksonville for $5 million a year.
He probably will. He probably will. All right.
Jaquiski Tart, God Almighty. All right.
So the season is over, largely due to Jaquiski Tart.
All right, redeemed.
I just had to throw that in. What were your season as a whole? Is there any main points you want to throw out there? Any overall? I got a few. I'll start if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
And this kind of goes along with our game balls. But one point I want to make is a guy you were just talking about a minute ago. Deebo Samuel really did have one of the most unbelievable seasons I've ever seen from a wide receiver. And it's a historically great season that we need to recognize that, this is something that will be in the history books. What Deebo Samuel did this year, it was awesome.
Yeah. No, Deebo specifically, he's really cemented himself as the perfect Kyle Shanahan player.
Oh my gosh,
which is so crazy to think about that he'd ever be used in this role. Mm-hmm. I remember when I first saw the tweet after Mitchell had gotten banged up and, of course, Mostert had been out and Sermon's nowhere to be found. He's giving a sermon to his agent about getting traded. But when Deebo first lined up running back, what the heck is this? We're going to injure our number one wide receiver. Ayuk sucks. And then all of a sudden just came together. Ayuk got a little better. Deebo kind of fit into that role. Started using a little bit of trickeration, matriculating the ball down the field. And no, it was just awesome to see that from Deebo. I think season as a whole, I like your thoughts on this. I think this is Kyle's best coaching job of his career as coordinator or as a coach. With the lack of, and I say this with all due respect to the team, lack of talent they had compared to their Super Bowl team. Even the lack of talent probably over last year, between injuries, losses, guys underperforming. Tart. I think this was his best coaching job. He got through adversity, despite bad games he called, rallying the troops, getting them to where they needed to go.
I was going to say, I think the last 8 games plus playoffs was the best stretch of coaching in his career, because I do think he was kind of in a funk early, and that's part of why they were in a 3-5 position. But he flipped the switch. Something happened with the entire team, and from that point on, I thought he was excellent. And even when they were 3-5, I was on this podcast screaming, "Dude, stop the fire Shanahan stuff! You guys, what are you talking about?" So I think that stretch of coaching was excellent. So I would agree with that.
No, and again, too, between the coaching, between Deebo, I think the only other thing I'd mention, Kittle. The one thing I'll say about Kittle, his lack of touchdowns did bother me, but he's still Kittle. He's still getting his touches. That would be nice to see him more involved in the offense next year. Maybe get some balls thrown his way.
Yeah, not even touched, not even only, just targeted more. I want him to have more targets in general.
I think that was a Jimmy thing. Hopefully we see that different this year. But aside from that, that'd probably be my only negative. But coaching Debo and then Kittle, Bosa, Warner, they speak for themselves. Again, and I'll even throw another guy into this: the emergence of Jimmy and Ambry, solidifying that side of the field in your secondary. Man, it alleviates a ton of concern. Of course, Jimmy's Jimmy Ward.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been a good safety. He's always been your guy. Even since we drafted him, he's been your guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he just seemed almost uber confident this year, settling into his role finally, kind of consistently in his career, kind of emerging almost as one of those borderline top tier safeties in the league, at least second tier, and just kind of having two guys now in the back end of the defense, which was the question mark by far going into this year, with a guy like Tart who couldn't stay healthy, a guy like Jimmy Ward who kind of played inconsistent. I sound like Mel Kiper right now. And then Emmanuel Mosley on the other side of the field, kind of, is he going to be healthy? Jason Verrett gets injured. Well, now you got two studs that you can build around, and you know for sure what you're going to get out of them. You're going to get a ball hawking safety in Ward who can move to any position in the secondary. He can even come down and play linebacker. He can come down and play the slot. You got Ambry who's going to lock up one side of the field. You got to feel good about that going forward at least.
Yeah, no, definitely so. No, I really like both of those players a lot, for sure. Another point that I just wanted to mention, and I've said it 100 times, I'm going to campaign one more time for Nick Bosa to finish top 2 in Defensive Player of the Year. But his season he was top 3 to 5 in every pass rushing category while being the most doubled edge rusher in the league.
Yeah.
How does that not equal top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year?
I think if you pulled players, they would have the edge guys listed differently than PFF and fans do.
Yeah.
It definitely seems like obviously TJ Watt gets a ton of attention, but it doesn't, even Myles Garrett, it doesn't seem like they get the respect Bosa does from these top flight offensive lines even. It seems like Bosa always gets a ton of attention, and he's rarely let on an island alone.
Oh, yeah. Like I say, he's the most doubled pass rusher and edge rusher in the league. That's not including defensive tackles, because I think Aaron Donald is the most doubled player in the league.
Sure.
But just throwing that out there. But overall, this season, despite, it was a sad ending, no doubt about it. You had a chance to go to the Super Bowl, and you fell short in a really close game, too. But ultimately, I got to say, being at a point where they were 2-4, 3-5, we talked about, hey, they lose one more game and we're going to Trey Lance, which, hey, I would love to see Trey Lance. But being at that point where your season seems to be over, ending up a field goal away from the Super Bowl, what a season. And I got to say, I'm happy I experienced it.
Yeah, what a fun first season for us. So many ups and downs during the podcast. We've grown as a podcast and kind of feel like we're in our rhythm. The 49ers hit their rhythm. Unfortunately, it ended a little bit premature, it feels like. But just the fact they got there, man.
Mm-hmm.
Too, for those of you that do listen, thank you for being here with us and kind of experiencing the season with us. But, man, it does suck. It has to end. It's always your favorite team. And coming up short always hurts. But, when no one expected them to be in this position after the 3-5, the 2-4, you and I certainly didn't. We expected maybe a wild card exit, and then here making it to the NFC Championship, a better game from Garoppolo, a caught interception from Tart, a field goal away from making it to the Super Bowl, going up against a team that you've already beat.
Yeah.
Man, it was a great year and a great run. It stinks it has to end, but for it to end like this, it was a great season.
It was, yeah. It really was. Well, we talked about mentioning the league as a whole too, because there's some big time news, and of course, with there being no 49ers games from here on out during the off season, we plan on talking about draft stuff and free agent stuff and probably league stuff as a whole. But there's some big stuff. And of course, on the other side, there's the AFC Championship game.
Sure.
The Chiefs up 21-3 and right before halftime had a chance to go up 28 to 3.
24-10. Yeah, sheesh.
They could have been up 28 to 3, but they threw it
Yeah,
short of
sorry,
the end
yeah.
zone. Yeah. And they blew that lead. I could not believe that game.
You've seen the fairy tale dynasty that every writer always puts into motion when a young quarterback wins his first ring. You've
Yeah.
seen it crash and burn like it has for many quarterbacks. I remember when they wrote this about Aaron Rodgers when he finally got the
Yeah.
Steelers. Hey, dynasty. Took him a little longer. Dynasty.
Yeah.
One. He only made it to one.
It's been 11
Only
years.
won one. Mahomes, as soon as he beats the 49ers, dynasty. Dynasty. Not today. You got to be a special guy. You got to be Tom Brady-esque. You got to be – even Steve Young couldn't do it. It took him years to get the monkey off his back.
Yeah.
And he didn't go on a Montana run.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a special guy. It takes a Terry Bradshaw. It takes a Tom Brady. It takes a Joe Montana.
Yeah.
It takes –
That's like the
even
list.
Drew Brees only won. Yeah, only Drew Brees won one. You know, Brett Favre didn't win. I believe he only won one or maybe two. Peyton Manning only won one in Indy and then one in Denver. Had a long career.
And he got carried to the second one.
Sure did. It takes the right circumstances. It takes the right kind of guy with the right attitude and the right coach, like a Bill Walsh, like a Bill Belichick, who ride that star quarterback, and they get it, they know it, they work together, they understand what it's all about. And in my mind, Andy Reid and Mahomes aren't that. For whatever reason, Mahomes just has all the talent in the world. He's up there on a list, pure skill set, one of the most talented guys of all time. Arm strength, athleticism, speed, agility, strength, accuracy.
Yeah.
But there's just something off about him. And it's a shame he knocked out our boy Josh Allen and then proceeded to blow it against the Bengals. I don't think Josh Allen loses that game. But I don't know what it is about him. But just again, to kind of further that point, how many times do we see this where it's like, oh, it's already written into stone and they don't do it? And there's a reason why. Mahomes ain't that guy, man. Maybe he'll get another one down the road. I don't know.
I think he will.
I was glad to see him show. Well, you can say I thought they will.
Well, yeah.
People would have thought they would have won last year. People would have thought they would have won this year. We can think all they can, all they want, but at the end of the day, you've got multiple opportunities at it. That window ain't as big as you think it is.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just saying, if I'm going to say yes or no.
Yeah, sure. No, and I get where you're coming from.
Yes, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. It's just the window's not as big as people think. And
it's not.
Blowing that opportunity.
That guy's making ridiculous money. It's not easy to build a team around that. So, hey, but speaking of a guy who is that dude, the best to ever do it is no longer. Was that official yesterday?
Yeah, it was official.
Okay, it was yesterday. I am mad that somebody leaked it. Like, this guy should be able, after 22 years of the greatest career ever, you should be able to get this out when you want. And it got leaked. That really does tick me off. But nevertheless, this is a guy who won 7 Super Bowls, more than any franchise ever. Even as 49ers fans who would love to call Joe Montana the greatest of all time, there's no doubt in our minds, I know, speaking for both of us, that this guy who was in New England and Tampa, the greatest to ever do it. Hey, Michigan guy.
And Michigan man all the way.
It's hard to imagine an NFL without Tom Brady, man.
It is. I think for me, I've more so made peace with it just because I'm always just following the Patriots while he was there. And of course, him being a Michigan grad and being a big time alumni and supporter, he's even got working with these name, image, likeness deals with some of our athletes, sponsoring his TB12 company. He's so involved, and I've always loved Tom, and it's hard to see him go. But the one thing that would comfort you is when he's flirted with it before, like when he flirted with it in 2017, when he flirted with it before he went to the Bucs, and made that decision to stick it out. That one hurt more so. He's just like, man, we're left with Rodgers and Wilson. It's like, that's not a fun league. But you can just see how good of hands he's left it in. He's left it in better hands than when he found it. When Kurt Warner's the best quarterback in the NFL when you come into the league, and now the best quarterback when you're leaving the league is arguably close to a three-way tie with Mahomes, Rodgers, Allen's up there, Burrow's up there. You know, he's left it better than he's found it, let's say. And that's because of his drive to win, his relentless competitive attitude, his relentless drive for competition and for pure success and nothing short of it. He's raised the bar. And that's what I mean by that, leaving it better than he found it. He's raised the bar so high because of the success he's had personally for his quarterback competition, for teams that are trying to build to beat him. You see now how the Chargers now have a franchise quarterback to hopefully beat New England when he was there. You see Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, even Stafford, Rodgers, all these star quarterbacks now who number one in their mind when they were in their prime or are in their prime is to beat Brady.
Yeah.
It's because of him. So respect to him because of that.
Absolutely. Greatest to ever do it, man. Greatest to ever do it. Something that is not so great, in my opinion, is the new name of the Washington football team. I just don't like the Commanders, man. It's just not good.
No comment. I don't. It's just horrible. You had over 2 years to do this. You had over 2 years to do this crap, and you came up with Commanders. And not only did you come up with the worst font, which is just Arial black. You just did Arial black for your font.
With 2 lines above it.
And then you added the two bold lines. Someone hit return on their phone too many times. And they're like, God dang, Commanders looks hot as heck with 2 lines underneath it and above it. We should roll with that. And then they marched into Bill Snyder, or not Bill Snyder. That was a guy at remind me of Dan Snyder. Bill Snyder's a freaking retired guy from Kansas State. They marched into Dan Snyder's office, and then Dan had to kick out all the interns and cheerleaders that were in there and that he was partying with. And they said, Dan, check this out. Look at our font. And he goes, holy crap, I might be high. I might be drinking all day, but it sure looks good. And that's how that came to fruition.
Yeah. You know who else doesn't like the name?
Who's that?
I will show everybody. Hold on. So let me get this. Someone else that doesn't like the name of.
Oh, no, you're not.
But I am. Can you hear?
I don't have audio now. Might be because you have headphones in.
No, I messed it up. That's my bad. I forgot to hit share.
Yeah, it's all good.
Hold on, everybody.
I've not seen this clip. I thought you were talking about the Pat McAfee post, which while Steve's pulling it up, I will mention Pat McAfee said on Twitter that it's unfortunate that they will be called the commies and wearing red in the nation's capital.
That is so awesome. All right, listen to this.
What about Commanders?
All right.
Sounds like a movie.
Yeah. Okay, Red Wolves.
It's short, but a few months ago, Chase Young was asked to grade the possible names for the team.
Yeah.
The Commanders an F.
It's horrible, dude. Like Pat said, how many people, especially this day and age, they're just going to call them the commies. I'm going to call them the commies.
It's hilarious.
Dude, I like Red Tails just because of historical, especially this time of in the world scene that we're living in, giving homage to an African-American group of young men who sacrificed a lot. You think about them and their historical value, the Tuskegee Airmen. That would have been a great name. It would have immediately disregarded the racial issues from the Redskins. It gives homage to a specific group of people who probably deserve it. Yeah. And everybody loves it. The uniforms will look sick. A fighter playing on the helmet, man, it looks great.
I was thinking Red Tails Red Wolves were the two options for me.
Yeah, I like Red Wolves. I even saw one for like wasn't the Pigs, but it was like the Hogs because that was their old
Red Hogs.
defensive. Yeah, Red Hogs or something.
That was my
their old
third
defensive
favorite.
name, like
Yeah.
the Steel Curtain for Pittsburgh. That would have been great.
Yeah, those were my
What
top
was
three.
How do you come up with Commanders?
Commanders. It's bad.
Did you see the crest?
The crest?
They have a crest, like almost like a European soccer team. It's a
Yeah.
crest.
It's so horrible. I don't know what in the world.
They all show up. Just to paint you guys a mental picture, I turned on Get Up this morning with God knows whoever Greenberg can get on there anymore. That idiot. And Dan Snyder's got about 30 or 40 former Redskins in their family. Sorry, Commandos, going commando. And they're all wearing Letterman jackets with this horrid. So they changed the W too. It's no longer the original, or not even original. They changed it last year or 2 years ago for a football team, the little slant out W. So now they added lines to it. They even messed up the W in Washington. And it's just this big, horrible, ugly duckling of a W on their Letterman jacket. They've got all the uniforms out front. And then my favorite part, and I don't even know who approved this. No doubt it had to be Dan Snyder. That politically correct doofus. They have the three uniform combinations, right? The black one, the white one, the red one.
And the red one, yeah.
The black one is a helmet that's no longer in circulation. It's got the guard down the middle, like it's freaking Rob Ninkovich from 1999. That's not an approved helmet.
I saw Eric Crocker call it a butt crack.
Yeah, dude, that's not an approved helmet anymore. That's what Howie Long wore in the 70s before he got on Fox. He was a defensive lineman for John Madden, and he wore that helmet. And you idiot, you approved it for your uniform, and then you doofus, you spray painted your big, ugly freaking W right on the forehead.
So bad. I can't.
Well,
I had high hopes, and I shouldn't have.
No, people talk about how many bad franchises there are in sports. Think about Sacramento Kings fans, Minnesota Timberwolves fans. You think about, trying to think of some hockey teams. Forget hockey. Think about like the Kansas City Royals, the Miami Marlins, maybe in baseball, Seattle Mariners. And then in football, people always want to bring up Detroit, Cleveland. At least those owners care. At least they care. Washington was they just gave a giant one finger salute to the city of Washington, D.C. and their fan base nationwide.
Yeah, I'm just looking at them again, and
it's horrible. The big W is the one that kills me.
On the black one, that's so dumb.
I don't understand how you can use a helmet that hasn't been approved since 2000. And then how you put a big W right in the middle. But again, talking about some of these bad franchises while you're looking at them, Cleveland doesn't deserve that. Their ownership might be incompetent, but at least they care. At least they know they suck. At least Detroit and the Ford family, at least they try, man. At least they try to change coaches. They don't try to hinder the team. They'll pay you. They just aren't smart. But Dan Snyder single-handedly is the worst owner probably in all of professional sports. And the fact that he thought this uniform combination was acceptable is just horrendous.
Yeah. It's rough. They ruined it. They've been thinking about it for 2 years, and that's what they came up with. They really blew it. They had a chance to be like kind of a new cool thing, and it just sucks.
So here's a conspiracy theory before we start, or we get to the next little thing here. What if, conspiracy theory, Dan Snyder's had these allegations and things of assault and all this stuff. What if he hired someone, perhaps a female or a male, who he might be interested in, and to get familiar with them, he gave them this contract, and that's why they're so horrible.
There you go. Maybe
that perhaps to either get himself out of legal trouble or to avoid legal trouble,
Yeah.
because of his own fleshly desires. He just subcontracted this, and instead of hiring a real marketing department,
Huh.
he just had 2 Cents McGee
Mhm.
draft this up in Photoshop.
That could be it. I like that theory.
It's got to be it. Either that or
Yeah.
his kid built it in NCAA 14 team builder.
That's true.
I
Yeah,
don't
well, looks
know.
good, son. Let's do it. What
It
was the
looks good.
What was the fourth thing you wanted to mention? I guess I
Yeah,
didn't
so
put it
just
down.
2 more quick
Okay.
coaching moves. Kind of touch
Oh
on the
yeah.
big ones here. Real quick, obviously
Mhm.
breaking today here. We're recording on Wednesday the 2nd. Broke here about 2 hours ago. Jim Harbaugh turning down the Minnesota Vikings, returning to Michigan. Vikings now expected to hire Kevin O'Connell,
Mhm.
offensive coordinator from the Rams. What are your thoughts on that fit? Young up and coming coordinator.
Um, yeah, I understand it. It makes sense to me. A lot of teams, I think, tend to do the opposite thing, moving from one coach to another. So they went from older, defensive oriented,
Yeah.
probably not a great, easy communicator. Mike Zimmer kind of rubs people the wrong way sometimes, has a weird voice, to young, up and coming offensive guy, opposite direction. So makes sense. I don't know if he'll be successful or not. I don't know enough about him, but I understand the hire.
One quick thing, because I do want to ask you just about a couple more. Won't spend too much time on this.
Mhm.
Malik Willis at 12 might be an interesting fit. Vikings fans, although I'm not high on him, getting this here in the offseason, Vikings fans like him at 12, which, draft Kellen Mond last year with your second. You got Kirk on the hook. You can get out from under him a little bit better this year. Vikings fans think that they can get a first rounder for Kirk. I don't see that happening. They also like
Maybe.
Malik Willis at 12. Don't
I
know if
don't.
I see that happening either, or
I hope
do I
not.
like it? But yeah, they're optimistic that they can contend, which I think was part of the reason why the Will family, who owns the Vikings, was perhaps interested in Jim Harbaugh. They thought they could win right now. They
That
wanted to
makes
win
sense.
now, coach. I think they're high on the roster. Obviously, whatever it was with Zimmer, the roster is getting older. Maybe they can hold on another year or two here before Harrison Smith, Adam Thielen, and Patrick Peterson blow up from internal combustion. Just need to
Could be
hold
any
on to
second
some.
though.
Yeah, it's gonna long a little longer. Josh McDaniels and
This was by
the
far the most shocking one to me. I did not. I have always thought
who did you
that
expect? Who did you expect the Raiders? Quick
the
before McDaniels,
Raiders. I honestly
before they
expected.
hired McDaniels, who did you think?
I was thinking it would be Harbaugh, Flores, one of those guys. Honestly, if Harbaugh was going to leave, but I've always thought McDaniels had kind of the behind closed doors handshake thing with
Yeah,
Belichick. That once Belichick's gone, he moves right along in. I did not
I
expect
did too.
that at all. But I mean, I think he's a good offensive mind. The things that he said in his press conference about the things he didn't understand in Denver made sense. We'll see if that he actually does understand it now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I almost wonder if Mac Jones, as much as we hate on him, I wonder if he's kind of re-energized Bill maybe a little bit. Maybe Bill's thought about hanging it up, in years past, but still, no matter how we feel about Mac, he's a younger quarterback. Bill might want to hitch his wagon too. He ain't hitching his wagon to JT Stidham and Cam
JT.
Newton, dude. It ain't gonna happen. Brian Hoyer ain't winning nothing. He didn't win it his
No.
first time around, his second, his third, or now his fourth stint in New England. Ain't happening.
No.
So maybe that's why, but I was with you. I thought Josh was going to stay in New England until Bill hung it up, and then that was going to be that. But yeah, kind of a weird deal.
It is.
It's always one of those things. More times than not, these rehab hires don't work. You've seen it in college not work. How many times? The one that comes to mind, Steve Sarkisian getting fired for being a drunk, and then going to
Fight
Alabama,
on,
now to
baby.
Texas. Exactly. Now going to Texas, and they stink. That's the most recent one. But then you have instances, few and far between. Pete Carroll
Mhm.
sucks in the NFL. If gets 1 year at the Jets, 2 years at the Pats,
Mhm.
goes to USC, reclaims himself for multiple years, builds a dynasty, gets out of Dodge, builds a semi-dynasty, at least becomes, again, a top flight coach in the NFL. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, the former happens more than the latter.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And I'll say too, the things that Josh McDaniels said he struggled with was the people side of coaching more than anything. And I got to say, I've heard this a little bit, and I'm starting to buy into this, that having a team in Vegas might be a bad idea.
Horrible idea.
People just get in trouble.
It's not just people get in trouble. Where's your fan base coming in from?
Yeah,
I mean,
that too.
I was shocked they packed the stadium as much as they did this year, man, because let's say you and I were Vegas fans and we lived 3 hours away. That's a pilgrimage, dude. There's nothing out there. You're making a weekend out of it. You can't come in for a game. You can't come in to see family. Your family don't live in Vegas. Your stripper aunt does, but your family doesn't. Think about these fans that live across the country who maybe grew up in Oakland and then they move.
Yeah.
At least they have a reason to come back.
Yeah.
You know, at least they have a reason to come back. You're just going to Vegas, go hang out and party and go eat buffets and gamble and all this stuff. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a far drive from their true blue fan base.
It's just a weird spot.
It's just a weird fit, man.
Yeah.
A weird fit. The one thing I'll say though, McDaniels failed in Denver because of maybe the people side, but more so he had so much on his plate. They gave him the keys way too early.
Yeah,
gave him front office power too, personnel decisions. Drafts Tim Tebow in the first round. Drafts a kicker in like the third round. I forget who it was, but it was God Almighty. What Matt Prater was got before him, but beside the point. Drafts a kicker in the third round, just makes horrible personnel decisions. Maybe now he has a guy he's been familiar with for multiple years in New England. Ziegler, I forget his first name. But, you know, give some familiarity. The guy's going to know what Josh wants. Josh knows what's expected out of him. They're on the same page. Maybe Josh doesn't stress himself so much with it. He can just focus on coaching the ball. Best case scenario for him.
Yeah, well, that would be good.
Yeah.
I'll say that one that came to my mind, the first one, because I was watching his name a bunch. Daboll to the Giants. Very interesting to me. I love Brian Daboll. I was hoping that he would go to Chicago, actually. It's kind of an odd fit to me with the Giants because obviously he's an offensive guy, and I just thought he'd be perfect for a team like Chicago trying to build on this young quarterback who needs some help developing. But I don't think Daniel Jones is that guy at all, and I don't know if they're going to be willing to move on from him, or is it just going to be him trying to win with Daniel Jones and failing, and then it's funky and he gets fired early? It's just, I don't know.
So I think when you bring in a guy like Daboll and McDaniels, who could stay with their current team as long as they want, and they're not leaving unless it's the perfect opportunity. They're not rushing to be a head coach, even more so McDaniels, even Daboll. He's been wanted for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
He wanted the right opportunity, and now he shows up to New York. Or not to New York, I guess to Newark, New Jersey. He shows up in his F-150, and he is a Midwest guy all the way.
Yeah.
His country's strong. He is built for this. Now, if New York is this, I don't know. But it does feel like when you give a guy like that power and authority, he's making it clear from day one who his quarterback is. And if you're tying him to Daniel Jones and Derek Carr and God, who's the other guy we mentioned at the outset? Was it just Kirk Cousins? If that's the deal you're making, hey, you can't come here. Kirk Cousins is our guy. You know, Derek Carr is 100% our guy for his career. You cannot move on. Daniel Jones is our guy, man. We drafted him in the top 5 for a reason.
Yeah.
I don't think he's taking that job. So he's got to have some flexibility. Maybe he wants Daniel. Maybe he's got a reclamation project. But, man, sneakily makes the Giants a player for a quarterback this year. If there's
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's more so I was worried about if management ownership doesn't want to move on. But I guess they've had changes there too. So maybe they'll be willing to do it. But I think with Daboll especially, you got to make a splash at the quarterback position. You just have to. That's what he does.
He's got a good offensive core there outside of the line. Evan Ingram, Saquon, Kenny Galladay, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. It's a good core. You need a quarterback. You need some offensive linemen. Maybe you got draft a quarterback this year. You fall in love with Pickett or Corral. Maybe you spend a ton of money on the line again and hope you hit on somebody. They're not in a horrible spot. They've just
No,
had
yeah, 2
incompetent.
first-round picks is great.
Had incompetent coaching, and they've had incompetent quarterback play.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, one quick thing here, and the reason I'll mention this, me and Steve wanted to kind of give you guys a little preview of. That's why we're talking about this around the league, is just to kind of give you a feel for what this offseason talk's going to be like. But the kind of last thing we want to give you here, we're going to end with talking about Jimmy. Of course, you can't end it without talking about him, where he might go.
Yeah.
One last thing, Aaron Rodgers. I think this kind of leads us into potentially, or not potentially, leading us into our last segment here with Jimmy. Well, talk about Aaron Rodgers. What's some spots you think he might land in? Because there's a ton of quarterback needy teams. Heck, even the Giants might be a player for both of these guys. If Daboll wants a quarterback, where do you think Aaron Rodgers goes? Because no doubt where he goes, that's this potential suitor for Garoppolo that we're not going to have as an option.
So, all right, I'll just say, if I was a betting man, there are.
Okay, I tell you what.
Okay.
Let's
Sure.
break it down.
Okay.
You can go back to your betting man. 3 to 5, however you feel comfortable with, in order. Where he's going to go, staying, leaving, whatever.
I'll start with 3, and if I happen to come up with 2 more,
That'll work.
I'll do it.
That'll work.
I will say the one most likely place that he's playing next year is Green Bay.
Really?
Yeah. 2, I'm going to buy into the rumors and say Denver.
Okay.
3, I'll say Pittsburgh.
Here's a sneaky one.
Uh-huh.
What are your thoughts on Derek Carr?
I think he's probably like 12th, 13th, 14th best quarterback in the league. He's good.
Where would you rank Aaron Rodgers? Top of your head.
1.
McDaniels is a new quarterback who might want his guy, might not want to inherit Carr.
This is spicy
Carr might be
already.
the best compensation that the Packers could receive,
Digging this.
along with their first.
Please continue.
What if Rodgers went to Las Vegas, who has cap space, for Derek Carr to pick, and they use that cap space on Devontae Adams?
Oh
Carr and
gosh.
Rodgers make similar money, so that's almost a straight swap if you're giving up a couple picks. Green Bay gets their quarterback, and Rodgers and Devontae go live it up in LV.
But here's my issue with all of this, and as awesome as that sounds, and man, that would be so
Great Madden trade. Great
my
Madden
God.
trade.
Here's my issue, though, is I don't understand why. I mean, is Oakland a better place than Green Bay? Is he going to win more in Oakland? He's going to be in Mahomes and Herbert's division if he goes to Denver or Vegas, not Oakland. Sorry, I keep saying Oakland.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll keep calling him Oakland. I don't know, man.
Why
I
would
think
you
it's more
do
of a respect
that?
thing. It's a respect thing. It's the same. And here's your Michigan analogy, all you idiots, especially Luke and you too, Steve. Why did Jim Harbaugh interview with the Minnesota Vikings? Michigan cut his
Nice
salary
guy.
in half last year.
Mhm.
He nearly took it. If it wasn't for him growing up there, playing there, his kids going to his halls, whatever. If it wasn't for family ties, he would have stayed, or he would have left rather. Why is Rodgers so pissed and wanting to leave? Respect, man.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
draft Jordan Love. You draft Rashawn Gary when we don't necessarily need an edge. It takes years to develop. Now Gary's good now, so
Mhm.
whatever. Get the guy some weapons. You can't sign Odell because you cheap out on him. You do the Eddie Lacy deal. You get A.J. Dillon when maybe you could have used another running back and let Jamal Williams walk. Now, some of these pieces have fit together. Obviously, I'm contradicting myself. But it's a respect thing, man. Do you think the Bulls usurped Michael Jordan at every avenue? Do you think Phil Jackson usurped Kobe at every avenue and said, "Hey, Kobe, by the way, we're going to get this guy. He's going to be your shooting guard in the backcourt, or he's going to be your point guard. We want you to run point. He's going to run two guard." No, that never happened. If there was going to be a major move, you know who they went to? Their number one guy, because he was one of the best 5 players in the league.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
True.
And you know, maybe he does stay in Green Bay. I don't blame him for.
I feel like
feeling
what's
like
going to happen is we're going to talk about it all off season. Going to come up with a bunch of different destinations.
Like last year.
Yeah, and what ultimately is going to happen is him and I'm sorry, what's
Devontae
Joker's name?
Adams.
No, the guy that he hates, GM. Oh man,
Oh God.
he's got a weird
I know you're talking
name.
about.
So yeah, but him and that guy are gonna talk it out like they did before and say, just you ticked me off a couple years ago, but get me some help. Draft a wide receiver in the first round, and let's run this back because I think we have a Super Bowl caliber team. So let's just go out and try to win. That's what I
They
think is
just
going to
lose
happen.
so much,
I don't
man.
know.
They just lose so much, dude. I don't know. This felt like Aaron's best team since
Was a
prime
good team.
Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb.
But they had a lot of injuries too, so I don't know.
They did have a lot of injuries, but I'm saying it still felt like their best team, and they lose a ton next year. They can't pay everybody.
Yeah,
it's going to be time to pay Jair Alexander soon. I think
Yeah.
it might be coming up this offseason, actually, when he's eligible for an extension. And then, you got the running back deal. Are you going to commit to A.J. Dillon? I mean, I don't know. You're going to pay who you got. Devontae needs to get paid. Valdez Scantling is a number 1 wide receiver. It's just
True.
a lot of questions about Green Bay. That makes this offseason different for A-Rod than
Mhm.
last year.
That's
Because
true.
last year, he just needed to come back. This year, it's I need to rework my contract. We're going to lose talent, and I'm going to have to make this work. And this is where I want to be.
Yeah,
Because
that's
this year
true.
was his
That's
best
true.
shot in the Super Bowl in Green Bay. So I don't know.
It's hard to tell with that guy, especially.
So number 1 was Las Vegas. Number 1 was Green Bay. Number 2 was Denver. And did you give a 3?
Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Pittsburgh. All right. So I'll go Green Bay 1 because I'm with you for all those reasons. That contract's just so fat. It's tough to find the right trade partner. And 2, you do kind of limit yourself. The Packers are not going to want to fall off a cliff. Now, with Jordan Love, they're not going to win 12, 13 games, but they might win 8. They might win 9 if that run game's strong enough. But they're not going to want to tank, dude. So they're going to want to put him in the AFC, and that really limits your options. Las Vegas, Denver, Pittsburgh, like you said, and that's probably it. Makes a trade partner tough. So
yeah, it does.
I'm with you. I think Green Bay 2. And then I'll give my wild card Las Vegas 3, just because I think Rodgers working with a guy like McDaniels. I think McDaniels would like to work with him. And I think Carr and a pick is probably the best return you're going to get.
Yeah, that's true. Man. Wow. Well, speaking of compensation.
We're running long today, guys, but we're enjoying it. And
who cares? Yeah.
Being off last week, we're glad to be back, man.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Jimmy Garoppolo. Let's just do this the exact same way. Let's just do this again, except I know we each have 5 spots, right?
Sure.
So I listed mine best spots for him, actually.
Okay.
So I don't know how you did it, but you want me to go 1 through 5, or do you want to go back and forth?
Let's go back and forth if you don't mind.
All right. Best spot
for him. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason being, I'd like for us to talk about after we both list our number 1s. Mm-hmm. We'll both discuss. I'll talk about yours. You talk about mine.
Okay. My best spot for him is also on Aaron Rodgers' list. Pittsburgh. Excellent line, excellent run game, a trio of solid weapons, a great defense, a top 2-3 coach in the league. It'd be very similar to the 49ers. He can step right in. Veteran quarterback, veteran coach. Perfect fit to me.
So I'm going to go a combination of best fit and best, or I guess most likely outcome. Mm-hmm. And then what's your compensation from Pittsburgh? Give me your compensation quick.
So they have picks 20 in the first round, 52 in the second round. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to say the second rounder, but it's not going to shock me if they throw the first rounder. It's not. It might shock you, but I'll say.
So
the
here's a
second
hot
round.
take.
Go ahead.
I think he's getting a first rounder.
I
And I
gotta
think-
do too.
I think he's getting a first rounder. And that's how I've been basing it off of. But granted, that's why I asked you. Pittsburgh's not my number one. Denver is my number one because I think they're
Okay.
going to swing and miss on A-Rod. All these rumors, they're not going to come to pass.
Mm-hmm.
The way they will come to pass is Peyton Manning's currently trying to buy out, along with John Elway and some others ownership group. He's in 2 different ownership groups right now. That's a big title ownership group. Peyton Manning's trying to buy the Broncos. That was part of the deal he got when he went there, was being a minority stakeholder. Well, now he's trying to buy him out. Could potentially Aaron Rodgers invest some of his money. That be part of the deal. A-Rod, we're going to trade for you. We're going to reduce your salary a little bit, work it out with you. You're a minority stakeholder. He's talked about wanting to have ownership in a team
Yeah.
before. Teaming up with Peyton, that might be a good fit. Pat McAfee's talked about that a good bit with AJ Hawk and kind of flirted around with A-Rod when they've had him on. So that would be interesting. I don't think that's going to happen, though. So I do think they're going to swing and miss on A-Rod. They're going to go all out for him. It's just not going to happen. So I've got him going to Denver first. I think that's the most likely outcome, which again is just keeping Denver in mediocrity in that division. But I think I've got their projected compensation. They're second and they're third. They're number 41 and 64 overall.
Funny, that is my number 2, and I had the exact same compensation.
Weird deal.
Because the number 9, they're not giving a number 9.
No, they're not giving up number 9
You
for
can't
him.
give up a top 10 pick.
No, and Denver's a complete team. They've got the money to pay Bryce Callahan. They've got Justin Simmons back there. They've got a great defense. They've got a great
weapons.
They've got great weapons. They got a good running game. What's their out of Utah? Or not? Is it Utah?
Who are you talking?
They're running back. They're starting
Jamal
running back.
Williams from North Carolina.
No, it's not from North Carolina.
Jamal Williams?
They're starting running back.
Yeah, from North
Well, by
Carolina.
God,
Yeah,
by God, that's the guy I was thinking of. That's the guy I was thinking of.
Mhm.
But beside the point, that they've got good weapons. Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, they've got good weapons, man. That just seems like the natural fit for me. And then I'll go. You looking up the running back right now?
Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah,
Javonte Williams was from Utah, right?
No, he's from North Carolina, but Jamal Williams plays for the Lions. Yeah.
No, I was thinking of. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah,
Booker. You're thinking of Booker.
I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Devontae Booker or whatever.
Exactly, I'm thinking of. Exactly, I'm thinking of.
Yep. All right. Yeah.
But yeah, Denver just seems like the likely pick. And I feel bad for Jimmy, but it's a winning team, especially if Peyton Manning is going to be in that organization. It's a good
division,
situation for him.
yeah.
It's just tough division.
Yeah.
But they just need someone to deliver the football accurately, and they'll make the playoffs. My number 2, ironically, was your number 1, Pittsburgh. I got them giving up their number 20 overall for Jimmy. I think that they're going to be high on Pickett and or Corral, and I don't think they're slipping 20. Some quarterback team's going to go up and get one of those guys, whether it's one of these rookie coaches, the Ball, or O'Connell, potentially. Of course, O'Connell hasn't signed yet, but you're talking about teams at 12 and then the Giants inside the top 10. I don't think Pickett and Corral are slipping there. Those are my 2 top quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I think the reason that they're the 2 top quarterbacks is they've been the 2 top quarterbacks all year. Willis and Howell and Ritter, they ain't getting picked that high. They're not NFL dudes. So I think Pittsburgh's going to wait on one of those guys to fall to them. They're not. Jimmy's our guy. We got to have a quarterback. We can't waste this championship window with aging veterans like Minka and then young studs with Devin Bush and TJ Watt. We got to capitalize on the window that we've got. So we're going to go with a veteran dude.
Absolutely.
And heck, they made the playoffs with Ben, getting the ball out in 2 seconds, 5 yards down the field. You know, if Jimmy does the same thing, they'll be better there, and at least he's a healthier version of that.
Yeah, true. That's very true. All right, my number 3, this would have maybe been in the top 2 if it weren't for an unexpected retirement, New Orleans. Excellent offensive line. They do need weapons. A great back that catches passes, and a really, really good defense. I thought Sean Payton would be there, and that would have bumped him higher. But because of that, they dropped down a little bit. But still, it's somewhere where I think he'd be protected, have a good running game to rely on. They just need more weapons. But New Orleans.
So I've got Tampa at 3, giving up their number 27 overall.
Mhm.
Me and the quarterback. I feel like Arians, he might hate Jimmy. He might love Jimmy. He might hate and love Jimmy. I feel like those two are kind of a match made in heaven just because Jimmy's so aloof and so chill. And Arians is such a quirky guy. Even if Jimmy sucks, I feel like they're really going to get along. It just seems like a natural fit. Arians is getting older in his career. Who knows how much longer he's going to want to hang around in Tampa Bay before he retires for the second and final time. He ain't going to want to deal with a rookie quarterback. And Kyle Trask sure as heck ain't it.
No.
So he's going to want a veteran, and you're not landing A-Rod, and you're not landing Russell, and you're not landing Deshaun.
Yeah.
So you can forget about that. So it kind of feels like a natural fit, especially in a division without really any star quarterbacks anymore.
It's a bad division. Yeah.
Yeah, just feels like a good fit. And honestly, I'd be okay with that. Send him to a winning organization that just won a Super Bowl. Feels good.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. All right, my number 4 might shock you that they're number 4 and not number 5. The Washington Commanders.
Wow.
Mainly because they're a quarterback needy team. That's pretty much it. They do have Terry McLaurin, who I think is legitimate first number 1 elite receiver. Antonio Gibson is a solid guy, catch passes out of the backfield. Their defense has talent. They just need to figure it out, I guess. Weird. So similar thing, and I would have them giving up like Denver a second and a third.
Yeah. So I
just
like the
too high.
Washington. No, I like the Washington fit. I do. It's just I do wonder how comfortable they feel with Taylor Heineke potentially being the guy for another year and drafting a rookie. Maybe they feel like that's a better option, especially
I could see that.
Especially to conserve some of this cap space. You're gonna have to pay Chase Young soon. You're gonna have to pay McLaurin. You're gonna have to pay some of these guys, man, Jonathan Allen. So I think that's the route they go. But if I had a dark horse, definitely Washington. They could be sick of Heineke and they might just want Jimmy, which are kind of a similar guy. My number 4, I'll go New Orleans, giving up 18 overall.
Yep.
Same thing as you. I'd almost have them is number 1 if it wasn't for Peyton leaving.
Right.
Sean Payton, not Manning.
Yeah.
I would have them almost number 1. It feels like a natural fit. It just depends on who they hire.
Mm-hmm.
If they hire a defensive first coach, he's probably going to want to ride out with Taysom Hill because he's going to win their heart. But just depends on who you hire. If they're hiring an offensive guy, I think I'll lean Jimmy. And if not, then they'll probably just stick with who they got. But that's why they're my 4th.
Yeah, makes sense. My 5th is Tampa. And I know it's weird that I have Washington above Tampa.
Sure.
And I agree with you that the quarterback coach relationship would probably be pretty good. And he wants to go to a veteran, I'm sure. Speak Bruce Arians, that is. But I have them at 5th because I just keep on thinking about how many times Mike Evans would be streaking down the right sideline and Jimmy wouldn't throw it. And I just can't get that out of my head. That him as a deep threat Mike Evans would be wasted with Jimmy Garoppolo. And I'm not even trying to be, but that's just not Jimmy Garoppolo's game at all. And I don't think he would want to be in Tom Brady's shadow again. So that's another negative for me. So that's why I bumped them to 5th.
If it was New England, yeah, I would say the shadow. I don't think Brady was there long enough for it to be playing. They're going to have those comparisons. But, dude, he wasn't. You think Tampa Bay is going to revere Brady as their best player ever? They've got other guys who the grandfathers and fathers and sons have loved much longer than Brady. Brady was the guy who got the job done. He's not the owner of their heart like he is in New England, man. He's not our Steve Young or Joe Montana or Jerry Rice or heck, even Colin Kaepernick,
true.
the 2000s kids. Yeah, so I don't know if that's the case, but no, I'm with you. It'd be a good fit from a personality standpoint, fitting with Arians. But yeah, you make a good point. Mike Evans would be pissed.
He would.
So my last team, and I've got a couple scenarios.
Okay.
The reason why, Philly, being that I don't think Nick. Oh my gosh,
Sirianni.
I was about to say Soriano. I've listened to too much Pat McAfee this week doing his Italian voice. Nick Sirianni. I don't think he's going to stick with Jalen either this draft or this offseason. It doesn't seem like a fit from a philosophical standpoint. It doesn't seem like a fit from a talent standpoint. And Philly got to the playoffs this year. They've got enough talent. They've got enough picks. So I've got them giving up in a couple scenarios. They've got their 15th, 16th, and 19th overall. I like them keeping their back-to-backs. That gives you a lot of power to move
It does.
up. It also gives you the ability to pick the two guys you want and say screw it with the rest. So I've got them a couple scenarios, interesting enough. I've got them giving up their number 19 overall, so their third and latest first-round pick. Again, they have 15, 16, 19. I got them giving up their 19th straight up for Jimmy. And then also potentially in a move that would work with salaries, you'd have to get the guy that I'm about to mention coming in, or I guess to kind of rework it a little bit. But I've got them giving up their 51st overall, so their late second-round pick, and Darius Slay for Jimmy. That takes care of your second cornerback issue. You've got a guy instantly who Ambry Thomas can learn from. You've got two of the better cornerback tandems in the NFC, not just the division. Gives Mosley the ability to kind of be a jackknife on defense. Seems like a great fit from a need standpoint. 49ers would have to pay for one anyway. In this instance, they don't have to overpay for one. Slay's not super expensive. I believe he's like two-thirds of Jimmy's current salary. After next season.
So 1 more year. Okay.
Yeah. So next season, then one more after that. Okay. Sorry, I guess I didn't explain that right. So 2 years on his deal. Yeah. So you're getting a guy who's 2/3 of Jimmy's salary. So you're saving some money there. Jimmy would have to rework his numbers going to Philly. And you also get a second-round pick out of it. Now, personally for me, I'm good with a straight-up swap because it's a position of need still for the 49ers, not as big of a need as before. But I would be okay with a potential late-round pick, 4th, 5th round. They've got 83, 121, 152, and 160, and 164. Any of them in that range with Slay, I'm good with. Just feels like it takes care of both needs. They don't want Slay's contract. I think they'd rather allocate that money to the quarterback position. And then also they're going to want some younger guys in the secondary. 49ers are in win now mode to get a former star cornerback who can still contribute right away and still get a pick out of it. So that would be my wild card. Even more so than Washington probably. Be great to have a first rounder, use it on a Tyler Linderbaum or one of these offensive linemen that we could desperately use. But having a cornerback who you'd be spending that money on potentially for agency anyway, and a late round pick, that would also work for me too.
Yeah, that would be great. No, I like that a lot. I thought you might mention Philly, and I was kind of debating between them and Washington. So yeah, nice. I'm glad we had at least one difference there.
A couple, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Well, yeah, that's this is kind of the format probably see from us more so now during the off season. We'll probably talk draft stuff a lot for now and league stuff a little bit more because obviously we're not going to be reviewing and previewing games every week. So this is probably more of a format you'll be getting during the off season, and we'll try to do some creative stuff too with some guests, maybe some random draft team building stuff again. So we like to throw that stuff too.
Oh yeah.
Josh, anything to add? Did I forget anything before we close this thing out?
No, man. Just we're excited to do it. We got a lot of stuff on deck. Steve and I love the draft. We'll be doing maybe some live mock drafts, simulations, and
definitely want to do that.
Going over some positions of need, free agency needs, all that stuff. Obviously, even more detailed scenarios, what cap numbers would look like with the Jimmy trade, breaking down specifically some Aaron Rodgers moves, what compensation for him would look like, a lot of these star stuff. We're just going to be talking about the league as a whole. All the stuff that me and Steve shoot the bull about all week. We have the freedom now with the 49ers being off. We're still going to talk about the 49ers, obviously.
Absolutely.
So talk about what's going on every week. But now we have the freedom, at least for a good chunk of our episode, to kind of give you guys a little bit of flavor, kind of talk about what's going on around the league too.
Yeah.
And of course, how it relates to the 49ers.
Of course. Next week, we'll probably dedicate that episode, at least a majority portion of it, previewing the Super Bowl. And it's the biggest game of the year, of course, even if the 49ers aren't in it. And I do want to do a back-to-back mock draft at some point live on the podcast. And I don't know if we should do it like I get odds, you get evens, you get odds, I get evens, or maybe we try I get NFC teams, you get AFC team. We'll figure it out, something like that.
Oh yeah, sure.
And maybe we can even like make calls or to each other and whatever. So we'll do stuff like that. But
heck yeah,
we ran long this one. It was season finale. Covered a lot of stuff. Hopefully you all enjoyed it, but we look forward to doing this off-season stuff, even when we don't have games to do. So that was it. Before we get out, Josh, you have our fact of the week?
I do. So are you familiar with the Revolutionary War?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
You familiar with the Founding Fathers? You know the Founding Fathers?
Mm-hmm.
I have a father. I don't talk too much, but the Founding Father. You know what the Founding Fathers are?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Herbie Hancock, all those guys.
Yeah.
So Founding Fathers, John Adams.
Mm-hmm.
The Founding Fathers, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, they died on the same day. TJ, they died on the same day. Founding Fathers, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, they died on the same day. They died on the 50th anniversary of the first Independence Day. So thought that was interesting. Two good buddies died on the same day. 50th anniversary of the first Independence Day. And so hopefully us being good buddies as well, we'll both die on the same day, the 50th anniversary of this podcast, where we announced we've had a total of 477 views and 11 subscribers.
That was awesome.
Thanks, man.
Oh, man.
Here's to 50 more. Salute.
I like it. Closing thoughts for me before we get out of here. I just want to throw in that I'm very excited for Trey Lance's first real season, but I also do want to say he was an emotional roller coaster. He's hard to root for at times, but I'm glad I was around for that emotional roller coaster with Jimmy Garoppolo. And then one more, goodbye to the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, who struck so much both fear and love to people's hearts. And it makes you wonder, would I rather be feared or loved? Both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. Michael Scott. That is all. That was the 49 Yard Dash podcast. I'm Steven. That's Josh. We can't wait for next week. Peace out, everybody.
Hey, Shaklowski.